Alright, so this is my final project. So let's start by going over the parts. Here's the search servo. So you can see it has the ultrasonic sensor and the servo. It does its sweep. Move back to the tracking servo. This points to the device that we're going to be using. It of course has the feedback that goes to the Arduino, which does the 10-bit parallel. You can see our logic level converters so we don't blow anything up, all the way back to the Pi. And the Pi of course has its encoder attached to it. And that's of course how you control the offset. So kind of a brief rundown of how this works. The servo tracks the position of wherever this Delrin rod is. And of course once it will determine of course its azimuth and its range. That will of course be used in the PID control loop. So PID control loop has its own thread. The optical or the encoder as well has its own thread. So these run asynchronous to the track sweep. So what essentially happens is it determines a location that becomes the set point for the PID, which then of course runs in its own loop over here. And of course that allows for this servo to track where the object is. And of course the final component of this is you can adjust that by offset of 1/4 of an inch every click. And that's how you get your lead and lag on the targeting servo. Alright, so let's demonstrate this. Alright, so you can see thread encoder and thread PID, since I used 2 threads for those. Of course, the PID has to be in its own thread, because otherwise it would run way too slow. This sweep track is way too slow to control that servo. So anyways, yeah, you can see right now it's pointing in the relative direction of the Delrin rod. If I were to move it to the middle, you can see the servo moves to the middle. Of course, if I go to the right, the servo moves to the right. Right, so now let's put it back on center. So we have the encoder, so we can adjust the offset from it. You can see we're going to the left now, left offset. And of course now we're going to the right. And that's how you get your lead and lag. Of course right now we're at the bounds. I actually did limit the bounds so you wouldn't request the server to go too far. But anyways, that's it functioning. You can see right here, my output, it comes every time it does a sweep. It gives me my object range, the azimuth. It gives the target offset sweep in inches. So the actual offset itself is stored as a circumference, or arc length, sorry, not circumference, arc length. So whenever you do an offset of 1.5 inches, it actually calculates the distance here and determines the arc length and uses that for the offset. So anyway, that's my project. It was a fun project. It was a lot of work.